The risk of death is an ever-present specter in Formula One racing. Over the decades, numerous drivers have lost their lives in the pursuit of speed and glory on the track. But some fatal crashes stand out from the rest due to the high-profile nature of the drivers involved, the severity of the wrecks, and the lasting impact they had on the sport. In this video, we'll count down the 5 most tragic F1 crashes of all time and reveal the legacies they left behind. The 2014 Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka Circuit will forever be remembered as a dark day in Formula One history. On October 5, 2014, as heavy rains pounded the track, the race began under safety car conditions due to the treacherous weather. Despite the precautions, several drivers struggled to maintain control, with Marcus Ericsson spinning out after just 2 laps. The safety car was eventually withdrawn on lap 10, but the track remained slick and unpredictable. As the race progressed, conditions deteriorated further. On lap 43, Adrian Sutil lost control of his Sauber at turn 7, prompting the deployment of a crane truck to remove his stricken vehicle. Tragically, on the following lap, Bianchi suffered a similar fate at the same corner. His Marussia collided violently with the recovery vehicle, the impact so severe that it lifted the truck off the ground. Bianchi's head struck the underside of the tractor, resulting in catastrophic injuries that would ultimately claim his life 9 months later at the age of just 25. The incident sent shockwaves through the racing community and sparked intense scrutiny of safety protocols. Investigations revealed that Bianchi had failed to sufficiently reduce his speed under double yellow flags, underscoring the need for stricter measures to ensure driver compliance. In response, the virtual safety car system was introduced in 2015, mandating that all drivers slow down during hazardous situations without necessitating a full safety car deployment. The protection of drivers' heads also became a renewed focus, leading to the development and implementation of the Halo device. This titanium structure, designed to shield drivers in the event of accidents, initially faced criticism but has since proven its worth, saving the lives of numerous drivers, including Charles Leclerc, Romain Grosjean, Lewis Hamilton, and Guan Yu Zhou. Bianchi's tragic accident served as a stark reminder of the ever-present dangers in Formula One, particularly in adverse weather conditions. It highlighted the critical importance of making the right decisions to prioritize driver safety above all else. Even as recently as the 2022 Japanese Grand Prix, the presence of a tow truck on track during a red flag and heavy rain nearly resulted in another devastating incident, with Pierre Gasly remarking, "I could have been killed that day." As we reflect on the heartbreaking loss of a talented young driver and the legacy he left behind, our thoughts turn to another devastating crash that forever changed the landscape of Formula One safety. The 1970 Italian Grand Prix at Monza would bear witness to a tragedy that would claim the life of a champion and ignite a transformative push for improved vehicle safety standards. On September 5, 1970, Jochen Rindt, a rising star in Formula One, met a tragic end at the Italian Grand Prix in Monza. The Austrian driver, known for his aggressive style and raw speed, was competing in the technologically advanced but unreliable Lotus 72. As the team prepared for the high-speed Monza circuit, a controversial decision was made to remove the car's wings to increase speed. During practice, Rindt's Lotus careened out of control at the Parabolica corner, sliding under the inadequate crash barrier and claiming his life on impact. The investigation revealed a critical oversight. Rindt had not worn the crotch strap on his 5-point harness, causing him to slide down into the cockpit during the crash, with the other belts slitting his throat. Rindt's death sent shockwaves through the racing community, exposing serious lapses in vehicle safety standards and the dangers of pushing technological boundaries without proper precautions. The Lotus 72's experimental modifications, driven by team principal Colin Chapman's relentless pursuit of innovation, came under intense scrutiny. Rindt himself had been critical of the car's reliance on aerodynamic wings, finding them unreliable and dangerous, and had clashed with Chapman over these issues. The tragedy at Monza became a catalyst for change, spurring a long overdue examination of Formula One's safety practices. RINDT's crash highlighted the inadequacies of track safety measures, with the failure of the crash barrier at Parabolica serving as a grim reminder of the risks drivers faced. His death was a pivotal moment that led to increased scrutiny of vehicle safety standards and a push for stricter regulations to protect the lives of those who dared to push the limits on the track. RINDT posthumously became Formula One's first and only world champion, as no other driver could surpass his points lead by the end of the 1970 season. His legacy, carved out by his incredible talent and the tragic circumstances of his death, forever changed the landscape of the sport, setting in motion a new era of safety consciousness that would shape the future of Formula One. On May 8, 1982, the final qualifying session for the Belgian Grand Prix at Zolder Circuit took a tragic turn when Gilles Villeneuve, a fiercely competitive driver known for his aggressive style, lost his life in a devastating crash. As the session neared its end, Villeneuve found himself locked in a battle with his Ferrari teammate, Didier Pironi, who had edged him out for 6th place by a mere tenth of a second. Determined to improve his time and potentially outpace Pironi, Villeneuve set out on his final lap, using his last set of qualifying tires. However, according to Ferrari race engineer Mauro Forghieri, Villeneuve was actually returning to the pit lane when the fateful accident occurred. Tragedy struck when Villeneuve crested the rise after the first chicane and encountered Jochen Mass traveling at a significantly slower pace through the left-handed Butte corner. In a split-second decision, Mass moved to the right to allow Villeneuve to pass on the racing line. Simultaneously, Villeneuve also veered right to overtake the slower car, resulting in a catastrophic collision. The impact launched Villeneuve's Ferrari into the air at a speed estimated between 124 and 140 miles per hour, sending it airborne for over 328 feet before it nosedived into the ground and disintegrated as it tumbled along the track's edge. The violence of the crash tore Villeneuve, still strapped to his seat but without his helmet, from the wreckage and hurled him an additional 160 feet into the catch fencing. Despite the swift response of fellow drivers and medical personnel, Villeneuve's injuries proved fatal. He was diagnosed with a fatal neck fracture and succumbed to his injuries later that evening at University St. Raphael Hospital in Leuven. The official injury, led by FISA Safety Inspector Derek Ongaro, attributed the cause of the accident to an error on Villeneuve's part, absolving Mass of any responsibility. This tragedy underscored the razor-thin margin for error in Formula One and the dire consequences of even the slightest miscalculation or lapse in judgment. Villeneuve's untimely demise sent shockwaves through the racing community, prompting a renewed focus on the inherent risks drivers faced each time they stepped into the cockpit. Little did they know that just over a decade later, the sport would be rocked by another harrowing weekend that would forever alter the course of Formula One history. The stage was set for a dark weekend that would forever be etched in the annals of Formula One history. The 1994 San Marino Grand Prix at Imola Circuit began with an ominous tone when Rubens Barrichello suffered a severe crash during Friday's practice session. The incident deeply affected AYRTON Senna, who visited his compatriot in the medical center. Little did anyone know that this was merely a prelude to the tragedies that would unfold. On Saturday, April 30th, 1994, during the second qualifying session, Roland Ratzenberger took the track in his Simtek. Early in the session, Ratzenberger went off the track at the Acque Minerali chicane, with his sponsor present for the first time in his contract at its midpoint. The Austrian driver decided to press on after inspecting the car to the best of its abilities. Unbeknownst to him, the seemingly minor incident had compromised his front wing. After a spin at the Tosa hairpin on the previous lap, Ratzenberger attempted to navigate the high downforce Villeneuve corner. It was then that the damaged front wing gave way, lodging itself under the car and sending it hurtling into the outside wall at a staggering 195.7 miles per hour. The impact was catastrophic, subjecting Ratzenberger to a record-breaking 500 G, the highest G-force ever recorded in a Formula One crash. The sheer violence of the collision inflicted 3 fatal injuries upon the 33-year-old driver. A ruptured aorta, blunt trauma from the suspension piercing the survival cell, and a basilar skull fracture. with the latter being the official cause of death. Sid Watkins, the head of the on-track medical team, confirmed Ratzenberger's tragic passing to a devastated Senna, even suggesting that the Brazilian would draw from the race. However, Senna, driven by an unwavering determination, chose to carry on. As the Formula One community reeled from the loss of Roland Ratzenberger, little did they know that an even more devastating blow was about to be dealt. The following day, the race would take a turn that would forever change the landscape of the sport and etch the name of one of its greatest icons into the annals of history. On that fateful Sunday, May 1st, 1994, Ayrton Senna took his place on the grid, visibly shaken by the events of the previous day. As the race commenced, an early collision involving J.J. Leto and Pedro Lamy brought out the safety car. Senna, frustrated by the sluggish pace, expressed his concerns over the radio, unaware that the safety car's brakes were overheating due to the slow speed. When the race resumed on lap 7, tragedy struck. As Senna navigated the high-speed Tamburello corner, his Williams inexplicably left the racing line and careened into an unprotected concrete barrier at a shallow angle. The impact, at a staggering 131 miles per hour, ripped the right front wheel and nose cone from the car, subjecting Senna's head to severe trauma. Telemetry data would later reveal that Senna had entered the corner at 192 miles per hour, desperately braking in the moments before the collision. In a cruel twist of fate, a piece of the suspension pierced his helmet, inflicting a fatal skull fracture. As medical personnel rushed to the scene, neurosurgeon Sid Watkins worked tirelessly to save the Brazilian driver, performing an emergency tracheotomy. Despite their valiant efforts, Senna's injuries proved too severe. Watkins later recounted the heartbreaking moment. He looked serene. I raised his eyelids, and it was clear from his pupils that he had a massive brain injury. We lifted him from the cockpit and laid him on the ground. As we did, he sighed, and although I am not religious, I felt his spirit depart at the moment. The loss of Ayrton Senna sent shockwaves through the racing world and beyond. In his native Brazil, the tragedy was met with an outpouring of grief, prompting 3 days of national mourning. An estimated 3 million people lined the streets of Sao Paulo for his funeral procession, a testament to the profound impact he had on the hearts and minds of his countrymen. Senna's untimely passing served as a catalyst for sweeping changes in Formula One safety. The FIA swiftly introduced measures to reduce downforce, enhance cockpit protection, and redesign circuits with additional crash barriers and tire barriers. The Tamburello corner at Imola, where Senna's life was cut short, underwent a transformation into a chicane configuration. The ever-evolving quest for safety in Formula One is a testament to the sport's commitment to learning from the past and protecting the future. In the wake of each tragic loss, the racing community has come together to honor the fallen and implement crucial changes to prevent similar incidents from occurring again. From the introduction of the virtual safety car and the mandatory halo device to the redesign of circuits with enhanced crash barriers, continuous advancements in F1 safety measures are a direct result of the lessons learned from the darkest moments in the sport's history.